Hey everyone, this is Saksham Mendirata, founder of Lights Out Studio and partner at Lights Out Venture. Well, I've been onto something incredibly exciting for the past few months. I have met some of the most celebrated entrepreneurs in the country. This actually started with me identifying a gap in the Indian startup ecosystem. You see, even though startups dominated the past decade in our country, we still kept looking back at what Silicon Valley breeds in its culture. I thought it was time to change this. So here I am with an all-new limited edition series where I talk to founders of some of the fastest growing startups in the country. And we ditch the traditional podcasting format that you've known. So sit back, sip that drink as I bring to you In the House. Okay, let's go. You see this background? Looks good. You see this chair? Super comfortable. Well, these are things that make up great design. For us to sit, look, pretty much everything. You get the drift, right? So today, we're talking about someone. You can hate him or you can love him, but you certainly can't ignore him. His persona is so powerful. Every single minute of my conversation with him was mind-blowing. I think it's going to be the same for you. Harish and I are literally diving into the bare bones of what makes great design. So for all you tech, product and entrepreneurial geeks out there, this episode cannot be missed. For the very first time in a candid conversation, I present to you In the House with Harish Sivaramakrishnan, Head of Design at Cred. You're going to love it, I bet. So is there a version of entrepreneurship or leadership style in your mind that you think works best for someone like you?
It's partly the problem space that you are in and partly who you are. I think both of them have shaped my way of operating in the last 10, 12 years that I've been doing design leadership, so to speak. I think what's important is to understand the spectrum that you're operating in and I'll understand what are the rules of engagement for something like that, to build a team, to the way you look at design, the way you build your perspective around how design would work, and then sort of juxtapose that on top with what you are as a person. Sometimes you might be very surprised that you are not even the person. Like, for example, I have in the past tried to do enterprise work. And my learning was not that I changed my leadership style. My learning was that I'm not suitable. I do not enjoy it. I don't think it's a space that I would like to come and operate, primarily because I have my own challenges as a person, the way I am wired, the way I look at design, the way I look at a problem space. Enterprise is not a space where my skills would really come to the fore and make a really big difference. So for me, the leadership style evolves from what are you intending to do? What is that you're looking to build?
Or is there a style at all to it?
There is, because humans all have their own small little quirks and small little biases. I personally find as a person biases are a good thing. Bias as a word generally has a very negative connotation generally, but I think biases are not a bad thing. It depends upon how biases influence your life is what is important. Like if bias actually sends you behind in time, or if bias actually makes you a person that is standing on the way of progress, then bias is a bad thing. But bias as a thing which is actually helping you step forward, helping you make some progress, helping you do things that you wanted to do, and then create outcomes that are actually genuinely good for the user of the product. I think biases are a good thing.
I agree with that. At one point, I think bias pushes you at least to make a choice. You're not neutral. You have an opinion. Everything's not just a spectrum. Even though it is in a larger sense, you are able to pick a choice or a side in one of them, and then you're just able to wire decisions around that. Is that how you look at biases as well?
See, for me, I have a degree in engineering, and a good large part of my career in the beginning, all the way for about 10 years, I did only engineering. I was writing code, and it was a good part that I was writing code for front-end systems. Like I was writing code which translated designers' work into something functional. So my own character or my own style has been molded by the people that I worked with. So when I have worked with designers, not as a designer, but as a programmer, I am actually just translating something that is a person's vision. So the leverage I have to bring in my biases or what I think about is not that very high, because you're in a very objective function. Something is already predefined and you're already trying to do really good. So only in the later part of my career did I have my opinions starting to feed into the decisions I make or the choices that I take with respect to design. So I think my biases significantly shape my work right now, because 21 years is a long time to be doing work of a particular kind. So yes, I think my biases have a very important role in the way.
Do you encourage people to exercise their biases as well? Like, does it trickle down?
Yes, I think.
Is that a good thing?
It's a good thing as long as you have checks and balances. I think something which is only biases, because biases also innately results in two people having two different biases, both of them right in their own respect, and it results in cancelling forces, because you can't operate like that. Like, you have to take one side and go through that. So you're ideally taking one person's bias and sort of doubling down on that and working on it, and then you put empirically measurable checks and balances on it. Like, so if somebody's bias somebody's bias can be proved objectively, can be proved quantitatively through what following that bias has resulted in, I think it's a fair approach to take. And the other school of thought is there is no place for biases. Everything gets largely defined by data. Like, you have preempted bias by collecting as much empirical evidence as possible before you start doing anything. I don't come from that school of thought. I think I have very strong views on subjectivity. I think humans are, in my limited knowledge, I think humans are the only species which is blessed with the power of subjectivity. And it is sort of painfully bad if you are taking that unique gift of mankind in the stuff that you're building, stuff that you're doing. So I personally enjoy operating on subjectivity a lot. And I am a bit of a person that generally believes in human triumph. Like, we're all smart people in whatever little small areas and zones that we are operating. And our subjective decisions combined with some objective measurement of our subjective decisions make us who we are. So I encourage people to double down on their subjective thoughts, as long as they have frameworks to measure the outcomes of it. So subjectivity without any checks and balances, it's hard in the domain that I am operating in, because you have limited time. Your time to market matters. Your customer attention span matters. Cost of acquiring a customer matters. Cost of retention matters. So you can't not have checksums. So
I know we'll dive into that quite in detail in some time. I know the mindset that you operate with is also subjectivity in craft, objectivity in measurement.
Yes.
Right. And that's not a very popular opinion across, right? Is there a certain level of convincing that goes even within the team that this is how we would operate, this is the framework that works best for us? It may not work for everyone, and that's perfectly fine, right? Like, is there a certain amount of convincing that goes?
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a very hard one to quantify. See, when you're by yourself, when you're saying subjective, it becomes a person's opinion, and sometimes a group of people's opinion, sometimes a large group of people's opinion, but it's an opinion. And sometimes what happens is, depending on the problem space that you are in, sometimes subjectivity can be easily justified by available data. You take a subjective decision by saying the best way to go to Kengeri is taking the metro. Like, it's a line that I just said. Now it sounds very subjective. But then there's also empirical data available that's the fastest mode of transport. People have been taking that. It takes lesser time. You don't come across. So those forms of subjectivity are actually on borderline objectivity, even though I said it very subjectively. But sometimes certain things that you say very subjectively, right? Like, I'm going to leave to a particular place at this point in time because I know it is going to work.
Like, that's you individually.
So basically you have there are two ways, no data available, it's fine. Like, or sometimes you have contradicting data available. everything around you tells that if you start right now, you are not going to make
You don't
it.
even have a benchmark then.
Yeah. Right. So when you don't have a benchmark, life is good, because I think that's where subjectivity comes across most powerfully. Basically, you don't know good or bad of that decision.
Yeah.
So you just require a state of mind to actually go and it's a bit like this. You are coming in as an opening batsman. You don't know which way the ball is going to swing, but you have come up with a state of mind that I'm going to go at it the first ball. So there are two things that can happen. Like one is you play and miss. Other one is you get out, terrible outcome. Third one is you actually connect. Fourth is you connect really well. But you have come with a state of mind, I'm going to swing the bat. But you can also say that I'm going to play out the first 5 to understand the conditions. And so it's a state of mind thing. So the first one is a very subjective, not empirically established way of tackling the problem. So for me, convincing has to be done when data tells you otherwise. Like sometimes you still do it. Like the data and general wisdom, common sense will tell you that don't do this. But you still think, you know what, we should do this. And sooner than later, this will become the norm. See, it's something that comes from within you. It's very conviction driven. It is something like how you say, I see it, you don't see it right now. Just trust me. I'll walk you with me. And at some point, you will also see it. See, that requires convincing. Sometimes it's like, I see it too, Harish. You also see it. I don't think it'll work. That becomes harder to convince. Because
I also think it's a matter of relationship then.
It's leverage and trust, and also your track record, if you may.
If you have it compounds over time.
If you have been right very often, if your subjective calls in the past have resulted in tangibly measurable good outcomes, then naturally you come with that pedigree. But then we need to acknowledge that anything subjective, anything non-objective, anything that's non-empirical comes with a heavy share of risk of failure. But I come from a school of thought that you need to be picky about where you go super duper subjective, but you need to go that way if you really need to create something that will stand the test of time. You know what I mean? Like sometimes objectivity has a very myopic
it's what the norm is, what everyone's doing.
Basically,
and it doesn't make you stand out.
And also when you are like everything else, not just in design or products or whatever, when you are like everything else, the beauty is you blend in. And blending in is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
I mean, many of us just want to blend in. Like, we all dress a particular way because you don't want to stand out.
It's the way social norms are wired.
So sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's also important that you're coming with a state of mind that I want to stand out. For example, the industry that let's say you're a model, you can't blend in. You need to stand out, you need to dress a particular way, you need to wear stiletto shoes. Then you can't say you're different. You've already taken that call. The initial reaction almost always will be, they'll say either you're overdressed or they will say, this is weird. Why is this lady or this man dressed like this in a public transport? Third one is, this is stupid because I've never seen this before. Fourth one is, why do you need to do all this to stand out? So you get all the four. All four of them are pertinent, but that's not how it works. I mean, if you have decided you give it a shot, you give it a shot, you're swinging your bat 5 times and you miss 5 times, something is wrong.
It's in your mind and you take that conscious call.
And it's important to know whether you have the right skill for this. Like, if we can cricket analogy, right? You came there, you're swinging your bat at every ball, you're not connecting anything. Then you need to probably say, okay, I need to probably understand this a little better because I'm not connecting. So,
No, fair. I want to talk a little about passion, right? And this for me plays a huge role, and I know in some way it does. I couldn't find a better person to share this with. I think passion has a huge role to play in shaping individual experiences, right? I particularly look also when say whether it's hiring or just like talking to people and so on, I particularly look at, do you have a passion beyond work? Is there something that keeps you going? Is there something that you focus on your weekends? Something that stimulates you, nourishes you, beyond just a disciplined life. And I know you come with that sort of a mindset, right? What is the role that passion has, in your opinion, that in shaping experiences at work, beyond work?
Sure. I thank you for asking, because this is something that I'm struggling with. So I'm going to give this a due shot to try and put my thoughts. I have to start by confessing, I am at a place in my life right now when I'm actually thinking, do I even understand what passion is? Like, I asked this question very deeply and struggle with it. See, for example, I'm a musician when I'm not working on design.
Yeah.
Am I passionate about music? Or I am doing design when I'm not playing music? Am I passionate about design?
Yeah.
Or am I passionate about both music and design? So I keep asking this question to myself. And what I have learned for myself, and it might not work for,
for sure.
everybody, so it's just very subjectively myself, is that oftentimes I have observed people don't understand innately what they mean by passion. And they actually go about it in ways that are very impractical, which is like the common advice that I hear people getting is, if you're passionate about something, drop everything and go after it.
Yeah.
It's a very common thing. For me, that's the most terrible advice I have gotten.
I think that's total BS.
It is the most terrible advice you can give anybody.
I agree.
I think I had a boss, someone I can't, like back in the day, he said a very interesting line to me. It shook me up. It actually threw me off my chair to absorb what he said. He said, I'm a very passionate person.
He told you?
He told me, Harish, I'm a very passionate person, but my passion is up for sale. If somebody pays me more, I will take that offer, be very passionate at that. You know, it's profound. It's important to understand. So would you call him a non-passionate person? The point is, he's saying he's very passionate. So he's working in organization A, very passionate, is giving his entire life to sort of build it. And one day he's motivated by something else. Might be a higher designation, might be a different role, might be a higher salary, whatever that is. He's saying, I would take it. And from the day I take it, I'll be equally as passionate. So that line, which was said to me probably 10, 12 years ago, it had an impact on me. So what exactly are we saying as passion? And for me, at this point, I think I am passionate about things that I deeply care about, but things that I deeply care about change. That is what...
They evolve with time.
Yeah, that's what I have understood. I mean, I don't even know if it is evolving. That's my problem. Sometimes it is also regressing. Okay?
Yeah.
Evolution is... point B is better than point A, or it's a forward-looking, positive forward displacement. Regression is like a negative displacement. Some of the things that I feel passionately about right now can't be necessarily quantified as positive displacement. I suddenly started picking up this passion for old cars. I started buying them. That's because I have the money. I'm passionate about them. I was not passionate about them 10 years ago. That's because I knew I didn't have the money. And then, you know, you work and you make some money and you have the wherewithal. Suddenly you are like saying, oh, look. So is it like an evolution of my taste? Is it an evolution of my passion? I do not know. And I'm also now very passionate about art and studying about art in general, that I consider as a positive evolution of mine. I didn't necessarily, beyond my own small little circle of music that I know, which is a very limited sort of space that I was operating in, my horizons widened and I started looking, I passionately started looking at it. So my general reaction to people is, if you're actually saying that you're passionate about just one thing, either you don't understand passion too well or you're lying. The first one is better, the second one is actually a lie. I get really scared of people that actually say, this is the only thing I'm passionate about. Like, you know, it is the same person that if I say, if you're passionate about it, I change every circumstance around that passion for you, but you still take it. Like, would you work for free? I don't want anybody to work for free. Or would you, or would you do it in a circumstance and environment that is so unconducive, but would you still do it? The cross section of people who would still say yes will keep becoming smaller and smaller. Because humanity is such a diverse phenomenon, you'll of course find one or two people who would just do it because they're passionate about it. But on an extrapolated plane, I think for me, passion or quantified with what is it that you need to do and what is it that you're doing that's making you feel passionately about it is important, rather than saying a loose sentence like, oh, I'm passionate about music. See, for me that means nothing. I think it's a meaningless sentence to say. Like, Harish, are you passionate about music? I don't know. Like, you know, I really don't know. Am I passionate about music? Like, for example,
I think it's also subjective, right? Like, this for everyone differs, and you're right, it changes with time.
No, bro, it's like this. So, Harish, how long do you practice every day? So, never. maybe once before my concert. But you're such a passionate musician, don't you feel the urge to practice every day? I said, no, I just like Netflix. Does it make me less of a musician? No. So passion is often quantified with this glamorization that you see in movies and in pop culture where somebody rehearses for 8 hours. There are people who do that because they like doing that. But not every musician need to do that. You understand? Like so it's almost like if I really like design, am I reading about design all the time? No, I beyond my work, I just like to speak about weather patterns in northern Alaska. Am I passionate about that, by the way? No.
No, you're not.
No. But I'm speaking about it continuously for 4 days. So that's my. So it's conflicted. I know I couldn't give you a well-rounded answer for this.
It was a bit of a dive into how you look at it, and I think that's what I wanted to bring.
Yeah, I'm actually struggling. I mean, I really want to get to a place where I can sort of tell you that hey, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. So honestly, struggling with.
And that's honest enough, right? Like, I mean. You don't have to have three pearls of wisdom on everything, and that's the humane nature of how leadership also should work. It should be relatable.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be on a pedestal at all points of time.
Yep.
Right?
And you're flawed, right? It's okay to say you don't know. I mean, I have gotten to a place where I'm super duper comfortable right now to say I don't know, and also to accept that I might be wrong. And you'll be surprised I'm many a time wrong. Like, it sounds very humble braggy when you say I could be wrong, but I'm going to say this. No, the reaction is like, you're actually wrong, but it's okay. I'm going to let you say that anyway.
And you think the experiences have shaped you?
Everybody, right? Like, your experiences shape you in more ways than you can potentially. Just my experiences have shaped me really well. My experiences have also taught me what I can never be. I think that is the most powerful life experience that I have acquired in my
the time. Limitation of it.
I mean, sure. I mean, it's a good way to put it. Limitation of me not being able to do something, or sometimes it's like how Naval says, like, your zone of genius is different from somebody else's zone of genius. So it's important to identify what you are.
You're right.
And just focus.
And that takes a hard look. I mean, that's a hard one to look at yourself, right? Like, I think if whether it's early in your life or later in your life or never in your life, it is essential for you to understand what is my zone of operation as well, right?
Correct.
Like, what all should I and can I be aspiring for?
Absolutely.
I think it settles you.
Yep.
It settles you and lets you operate more beautifully within that spectrum in a way.
It takes your insecurity away.
It takes your insecurity away, right? You said that. Yeah, interesting. Why hasn't India seen more design progressive products?
Sure. Thanks for asking. First of all, I think it is very highly contested if CRED is the benchmark. And I will start by saying I'm very comfortable with that. What CRED has, through its existence in the last 4 years that we have done designing that app, we have generated deep interest in the product, in the app, and people talk about it, people try it. And it has generated a lot of polarizing to heavily polarizing reactions to what this app should be or what this product should be. So without going into deep details about CRED in general, I think one common mistake I have made in my career is to look at something and form a view in my head that this is what it is.
Okay.
And once you do that, then you start expecting that on that object. See, for example, you actually
because you're a consumer
you're actually looking at a stool, and you're in your mind you've said that this is for me to sit. It's actually not for you to sit. I'm just giving an example. It's not for you to sit. It is for something else. And only when you come closer to it and understand, oh, this is actually like a bar stool where it is somewhere that you sit, have two drinks, and then you get out. So naturally not optimized for comfort, naturally not optimized for backrest. So the common challenge this is something I'm not even pointing fingers at others. I have been this person. Like, whenever you see something and you have immediately formed an opinion that this is what it is. And
this happens with movies, this happens with songs, it happens everywhere.
So when the problem with that is when you say this is what it is, your expectations, your mode of evaluating it, your mode of expecting something out of it are all deeply colored by what in your head did you think it is. But you'll surprise many a time, many products, many objects are not what you think they are for. So a classic example is cred. If you actually think cred is being created innately to help you pay credit card bills, the problem starts there. Cred as a company is about bringing people together. And when people come together, they get to a place where when they do things on cred, they stand to gain together, they make cumulative progress, and that progress could be in realms beyond just successfully making a transaction. So if you start thinking a cred member's only success criteria is that he's able to pay his credit card bill, then it's a problematic way of looking at this product. Now, you can actually say that, but that's all I see. And I will not go around contesting that. If that is all you see, I will work harder to help you see more.
But I don't know if it's the intent for you to work harder to make everyone see that.
Not everyone see that, but as a product person, somebody who's building innately for customers, if the very set of people that I really want to understand what I'm trying to do, and if there are gaps in the way they are perceiving it, the onus is on me to make sure that I make a due step forward to help them understand it.
Yeah.
And also kind of take a position where once I have done something and the inertia peak drops, they have a better life.
Yeah.
See, there's something called an inertia peak. Its standard happens when roads turn one ways.
Yeah.
It happens when flyovers get constructed. It happens when a metro line is being laid. It happens when somebody changed the checkout counter. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
The peak inertia almost instantaneously hits you because you're conditioned to do certain things. But think about it. If the metro does get completed, the post-metro life is actually pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
So there are two ways of doing it. So you can't really say, no, I will not inconvenience you. I will not construct this metro. Instead, I will find a intermediary solution which will incrementally. So the thing for me at Cred is that you need to do stuff because you see it. See, when we look at our product, we see how we can solution, how we can create better experiences for people. And in the process, it hits inertia peaks.
I want to just take a moment of that, right? Like, is this a thing that's come because you've been in business for a fairly long time? Because if a new product was to have a similar mindset, perhaps the odds of success would be fairly low, right? Because the precedence of success wouldn't have been as high.
So look, I don't think that is true anymore, because if I actually observe, 4 years since Cred has started, so many good products have come in, and innately these are products that are rethinking the way it should appeal to the customers. So I think look, there are two schools of thought.
Yeah.
Both have their own merits and demerits. Yeah. One school of thought is that I don't subscribe to it at all. Yeah. I'm actually on the other end of the spectrum, so I sometimes very passionately retort.
Yeah.
It starts with this line: the customer doesn't care.
Yeah.
The customer doesn't care. Shut your company.
Yeah.
Like when people say, customer doesn't care about this. Customer doesn't care about this. Customer doesn't care about this. You hear that very often. A lot of people, customer only cares for this small. This customer is not an alien. This guy cares about things. This is the guy who definitely stands in front of the mirror and combs his hair. This is the guy who checks the right pair of jeans, at least to some degree. Even the guy with like sparse hair on, and he actually combs his hair. Not that it's innately humans care. So any argument that says customer doesn't care, so he has a unit problem, put a unit solution, and done, is a product philosophy that I despise.
Sure.
I want to start by saying everything is needed. So I have a theory in design. Okay. Everything is necessary.
Yeah.
It is only time, resources, and constraints that define what is unnecessary. There is nothing called unnecessary. Right now, is this meeting necessary? Oh man, that's a very hard question.
Yeah.
It is necessary. I'm loving this. I came here, I sat here, I'm drinking a beverage, I'm meeting you guys for the first time. Completely necessary. Now, after this, I'll get out, I might just decide to go to Nagarjuna and eat a lunch. Yeah. Is that necessary? Yes, it is necessary. Everything is necessary, but if I have a meeting at 1 o'clock, I can't go. I'm just giving you an example. So
that's a constraint.
So my point is, only constraints define what is not necessary. By default, everything is necessary. So my thing is, so for me, prioritization is not a word that I very clearly understand. You prioritize on constraints. You don't prioritize by saying it's not necessary. Like, because every human innovation that you have seen happened because somebody said this was necessary. We were talking about this a little earlier. So my product principle is, if it is like, if you've gone to downtown Barcelona, look at those buildings.
Yeah.
Nobody says that architecture was unnecessary.
Yeah.
If you go to downtown Chicago, they are drab glass buildings. Both are built with very different perspectives. People go to both of them, and they are having a fair life in both these countries. It's not very hard to understand that both of them work.
Yeah.
But one dude actually thought, I'm not gonna go drab about it, and I'm going to create something. And because an architect thought it was necessary. There's a page on Twitter. You should see Architects Against Humanity. It's actually ridiculous.
Okay.
It's a Twitter profile that I've started following. They have very interesting perspectives.
Architects Against Humanity.
Yeah. So let me bring this back. So that's the first principle for me. Everything is necessary. When you say everything is necessary, you will actually apply the right set of constraints to say this is not possible right now, hence not necessary.
Yeah.
Not like it is not necessary, so I won't do it. They are very different things.
Yeah.
If I have to restate it, it is necessary. Can't do it because I have constraints versus it is not necessary, so I won't do it.
Yeah.
I am the former.
Yeah, and these are the two opposing schools of thought.
See, for me, everything is necessary. So the second point. Let me close my train of thought.
Yeah.
The second major point is familiarity versus curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, two things that humans are innately at the 50th percentile. You like familiar things, but you're also very curious. So if everything was built for familiarity, imagine this world.
Yeah.
It'll be a very boring place. We have always moved forward in life because we tickled human curiosity. Like, it's like when you see something new.
Yeah.
See, Brian Norgard said this on one of the meetings where he said, make everything look like a toy and humans will play.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, if I give you a toy right now, you're not going to throw it.
Yeah.
You're going to touch and feel it. You're going to check what
See
it is.
how it works.
The inner 10-year-old immediately comes out. And then you'll say, stupid toy. Never show this to me again. Other one is like, wow, that's really cool. I might want to use this. So the innate principle that I'm applying is like, if you always played in familiarity zone, you're not very differentiated. It is a conservative road to walk because you're familiar. And you don't have to do any extra. But if you're tickling curiosity, it's a harder road to take because the person has to first go there.
Yeah.
And the person has to try it out. And that curiosity has to innately result in a dopamine hit or a serotonin hit where he says, shit, this is cool. I'm going to try this. From henceforth, I'm going to do it this way. So I belong on that side.
And there are people on both sides of it.
Yes. And both of them have their very well established pros and cons. There is no one right approach. So since we are talking the human being, I am only saying where I am. So I don't start by familiar systems. I generally think humans are the most fungible species in the world. Like, they are the fastest. See, my dad used to say a cell phone is an unnecessary digression in human life. He's on Instagram now. Promise you he'll be on Snapchat a week later because my daughter's in Snapchat.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to subject yourself. Sometimes you subject them by coercion. Sometimes you subject them the hard way. Like, it's like a classic example. Sorry, I'm speaking.
Yeah.
Is an escalator.
Yeah.
Most of the older cohort struggles through that thing even today.
Yeah.
Like, they have that inertia to step on that. But escalators have become a common thing because it solves for a larger problem which people adapted themselves to. Like, if you just looked at the first set of people who struggle through an escalator, you'll never build an escalator. Instead, you will start investing in elevators, and elevators are familiar but a completely non-scalable problem. How big will your elevator be?
Yeah.
How can you ever create an elevator? See, and secondly, an elevator is a black box.
Yeah.
You can only cross levels. What does an escalator give you? It is in an open space. Your eye and your mind is operating, which is why a mall needs escalator, right?
Yeah,
if a mall had only elevators,
higher,
how are people going to find that interesting trinket store on the second floor of Phoenix Market City? So you need to understand that curiosity route is harder. It will always generate angst amongst people who have invested in figuring it out once. But the point is, if you continuously tell folks that, since you have invested, I'm just going to be conservative now. You can do that once you've figured everything out. So I'll just take Cred example. Has Cred figured everything out for our members? No. And I think it's a great place to be. And as we figure out what really works for our members, the product evolves. And if today was better than yesterday,
Yeah.
or if next Monday is better than the previous Monday, the inertia peaks are not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, and you can easily measure that by seeing the same argument I was giving. Like, you get extremely irritated after you find your spectacles.
Yeah.
But the point is, you've found your spectacles.
Yeah.
The problem is, you just didn't find the spectacles. Instead, went to the store and bought a new spectacles. You're screwed. The difference is, I couldn't find water, so I did. I Dunzoed water. Then there's a problem. I found water, but you just got irritated. Who moved the refrigerator? Like, I moved it, but it looks nicer. It's at a better place. It's better access. And you just takes 2 days for you to understand that it used to be in the kitchen. Now it is in the drawing room. It's fine.
Is that why you think the progression of design has been slower in India? Because people have been used to familiarity?
Yeah, because people are worried. If you break familiar patterns, it results in extreme reactions. And the reactions are not necessarily a bad thing. I will react the same way. I mean, if I switched off my designer persona and just looked at, if see, for example, Brigade Road is one way.
Yeah.
And suddenly Bangalore police said, oh, the traffic is now the opposite side. You're going to be like really pissed. You're going to be massively pissed. So you can't quite say, why are you pissed? But what you can do is show that this change is good for you. It'll take a week, a month, but it's good for you. And if it's good for you, it'll last. If it is not good, see, every change has to be measured against retention. Changes that result in lower retention are bad changes. Changes that have no impact on retention are neither good nor bad. Changes that result in positive reinforcement, positive retention are great changes. Unless you make the change and measure it, how are you going to know? It's very hard.
I always used to think it is a demographic diversity challenge, right? Like, because you can't appease to everyone at the same time.
Nothing ever. You're right.
Yeah,
nothing ever.
Which is why possibly the progression of design has been fairly slow, because the majority, which was massively diverse, was constrained to believe on, now that you say familiarity and you introduced that in my mind, it's very interesting. The majority was constrained to go with familiarity and for a much longer time. If India was sort of a country that did not have such immense level of diversity, the curiosity would have been far higher, progression would have been higher, and maybe it would have, like, take US for example.
No,
right?
I see what you're saying. I agree.
I always felt that. I never looked at it from this perspective.
No, I think you're right. I think the way you're putting it is also so true. So if I were to just add a little bit of color to that, I think a common thing that I have heard only in digital product design, I've heard it only in digital product design, is good design is invisible. It is almost taught with indoctrinated sort of frequency to young designers that good UX is invisible. I don't know what that means. I have spent a lot of time understanding what that means. Is that like things just happen and you don't know about it? Is that what you mean by invisible? Or is that things happen predictably that you stop worrying about it? Is that what it means? Or third is, you grow indifferent to it very quickly because it's almost like your standing instruction. It's invisible, but you're also apathetic to it, correct? So how can you build any business which is built on a natural construct of apathy? Like, you can't have a user being apathetic to what you're doing. So the first thing about invisibility, it needs to be deeply studied. I don't think a lot of designers understand the nuance of it. I'm not saying it's a wrong principle. I think the principle is right. So you need to understand what should be felt, what should not be felt. Correct? It's something that Kunal very commonly tells me. Injection for your daughter is always counterbalanced by a lollipop. So that the pain is somewhat invisible. Right? You don't necessarily put local anesthesia on my child to make that pain invisible. You understand, right? See, these are optimization questions. You hyper optimize. Instead, you'll say there's going to be pain, but here, Alpenliebe. The child is forgotten. Child is forgotten. Which is why almost all pediatric hospitals will have this toys and things to work with. The child innately forgets the fact that it is going to be an unpleasant experience. So, I mean,
just drawing to that one of your previous points, right? And which also means the attention span is far lower.
Yep.
Right? You instantly move from one problem to something that's delightful.
Actually, not that. See, the attention span is higher.
Okay.
You know why? The child forgot the injection, but remembers the lollipop. And the lollipop melts in the mouth for some time. It stays in your mouth. Yeah. And you remember that you got a candy. One, everybody likes getting a candy. Across ages, you like getting a candy. Yeah. You got the candy. And next time when you remember the smiling doctor. You remember the candy that you got.
Yeah.
And when you walked out and sat in that car, you still have a little bit of a stick in your mouth. And now that experience was not invisible. That experience was pronounced. Yeah. So basically I come from a school of thought that if it is not pronounced, you will not be remembered.
Yeah.
See, when you look at everything in a utilitarian begin and end sort of state of mind, it's hard to build high gross margin, high retention businesses.
Correct.
You can build volume businesses.
Yeah.
See, for example, like your data is getting over, go to a platform, recharge 200 MB, go back to YouTube. It's not retention business.
Yeah.
It is a volume frequency business where people just look for fast recovery from a problem, because your eventual zone of visibility is Netflix. You understand what I'm saying? I was watching Netflix, data got over. I can't recharge on Netflix.
Yeah.
By the way, if you could, it'll change the world.
Yeah.
But you have to move to a competing or a different complementary platform to go and recharge, but you're not looking for candies there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're only looking for
quick, it's the ops of it. Yeah.
Quick ops. So the challenge I see is everything in India, in my opinion, I mean, it's an unpopular view, somehow we have been conditioned to think this first, that we have to be operationally solid. We have to be operationally fantastic, but in the process, we miss out on the warm and fuzzy. And if you observe yourself, you yourself are a warm and fuzzy person. Yeah. You won't buy from a salesman who's not smiling. You won't go to a doctor that feigns empathy. If you're going to die, you're going to die, brother. He will simply say you're going to be fine.
I think it's it's a metric challenge. Everyone's pushing to get certain numbers out on metrics, and which is why design, the focus on the identity of design features far lower, because the measurement of it is not straightforward.
Yeah, that's very true. But if you have to build a high retention, high gross margin business, it's important to think how you will solve it. I'm not saying there's one silver bullet.
100%.
There's really no one solution. And in all humility, I haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
I'm trying. The only difference is I am trying hard rather than settling to something that I already know.
Correct.
See, for example, I'll tell you, if I were to take a problem like cred and solve it like how common sense and common wisdom tells me, with 21 years of building products, you would probably imagine I would know it to some degree. I might not know all the answers, but I have a team of 30 people. Even if I was an idiot, there are smart people in my team who would see it. So despite that, if we are trying something else, the first thing, it goes back to my first point. You're not what you believe you are. You're something else. And you're optimizing your solutions for that.
It's much deeper than that.
When you come without purpose, you have created a crazy high retention business. Because people are...
I think that's what everyone's gunning for, right?
Like the funny part is people are gunning for it, but they go about it very wrongly.
Correct.
So you don't get that retention by increasing your payment, reducing your payment success time by 3 microseconds. It's not very pronounced. Like, see, for example, why do you need a PVR in a mall? I mean, you could argue now, cinema theater, I'll go to a cinema theater. I will go for jewelry, I'll go to a jewelry. For food, I'll go to a restaurant. No, this conglomerate approach and physical layouting, right? Like, see, malls have layout. And you are led by that layout to discover things. Like, if everybody came with high intent to a mall, the mall will shut down.
Yeah.
Because high intent public window shop the least. High intent public leave the fastest. So sometimes you need to also ask, if you're building a mall, you can't optimize for high intent exit. You have to optimize for discovery. You have to optimize for non-quantifiable moments of delight.
And that's the challenge, right? Like that not everyone gets the fact that there are non-quantifiable moments of truth that you need to build for or design for.
Correct. And then what happens is you end up showing up at Phoenix to buy socks and you're pissed. I just wanted socks. Why do I have to take this escalator, go to 4th floor? If I went to the Gupta ji ka dukan on the end of my street, he's just a sock shop. You're not getting the point. You understand, right? Like if I was optimizing for you to buy those socks, I wouldn't have built this mall to start with.
Interesting, yeah.
I would have just built Gupta ji ka dukan ka better version. Correct. Or a better version or a better version. But instead I chose this heterogeneous, very hard to quantify a straitjacket into one sort of an architectural space, primarily because my aim is that you find what you want reliably, but you also find other things. Otherwise, why will somebody pay rent?
Yeah.
Like, if it is everybody's coming to Phoenix only to go to Apple Store.
Yeah.
See, the point is people are coming to Sangeeta, they also go to Apple Store. Like, cross-sell is a state of mind.
Yeah.
Like, upsell is a state of mind. Unless you think, and it is not easy because these will give you extreme headwinds. Because in any customer cohort of 100 people, there are always 50 people who are high intent, 50 people who are discovery oriented.
Yeah.
So the 50 high intent guys will always have higher inertia, higher friction because their intent is not being directly met. But the job is to convert the 50 high intent guys to also fulfill their intent but find other things. That's the only way you can build a business that lasts and has higher retention.
Yeah.
So this is something which I now have summarily absolute belief in. Like, because the moment you have created something which is not necessarily a need, but people still want it, your gross margins are up north of 70%. You don't need an iPhone. You just don't need it.
Yeah.
But you still want it.
Yeah.
You don't need a certain kind of car.
Yeah.
See, basically, unless you play on aspiration, and you're the guy who can afford everything has no aspirations.
I think there are so many nuances in human behavior that can be encapsulated into design or product, and what people end up optimizing for are just metrics.
Correct. No, they're important though.
No, I'm not saying you're devoid of metrics.
Yeah.
You're still measuring impact,
Yep.
right? And you're changing course if it doesn't work in some ways. So, I mean, I agree with you as much as not everyone will. And because everyone's building for a different audience set and different...
No, absolutely. And you also need to know what your business is.
Yeah,
For example, if you're a very ops-heavy business, everything that I told you is actually pointless.
Yeah,
if you're actually building for efficient ops. And many products are efficient ops.
Yeah.
And it's like horses for courses.
Yeah.
Like, you choose the right horse to run your race. Like, you don't... And one thing about measurement, man. I think this is something which one of my seniors at Adobe taught me.
Yeah.
A lot of times we are taught to build only what can be measured.
Yeah.
Like we are indoctrinated by saying like, if you can't measure it, don't do it. So he told me this very interesting corollary to that, which kind of stuck in my head, which is like, you still build it, but find ways to measure it. That'll give you progress. It's like, I don't know how to measure it, but I'm going to find out.
It also works in similar ways with culture, right?
Yeah. So how would you see, look, touchscreen, classic example. I'm very sure when QWERTY was happening, we didn't know how to measure touchscreen performance.
Yeah.
All these things that we talk about, heat map tracking or like, flow tracking, eye level tracking, these things did not exist. Somebody figured it out because the ecosystem changed. So yeah, that's also one thing about measurement.
Yeah, true. No, I'm also curious to understand what is the mindset that one needs, and because you've done this might come as very powerfully. What is the mindset one needs to become a founding designer in a product company, right? Because it's a very differently wired mindset that you sort of need.
Yes. Wow. Never thought about it that way. Wow. Okay.
I mean, you've experienced it.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting how I put it into words. So many. Let me just consolidate that in my head.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Now, I have been this quite often, like at least 3 instances through my career. So, wow. So, look, I think I took early stage founder led company design jobs, I can only speak being myself. And you have to understand it is Harish speaking and not a profile of Harish speaking. They're very different things. It's just me, the individual speaking. I have historically not been inspired by problems.
Okay.
I have not.
When you say problems, you mean problems?
As in, I would never have an approach by saying, if I did this, innately humanity would be touched.
Right.
Or innately X will become Y for people. While much of my work would end up doing that, that has never been a motivation for me.
Correct.
So my motivation is not that, Harish, if you did this, imagine the impact it will have on people. Harish, imagine how grateful people would be if you created and solved this, Harish. Imagine how the entire spectrum of underserviced society that would be. See, while I want my work to have that outcome, it is never a motivation. For me, I'm a very journey person. And I am also a bottom-up person, which is why I'm very suitable for early stage. I can't start on a problem that aspires to fix for Cubbon Park.
Okay.
I like to fix 5th A Main, which is the road in front of my house. I will fix it like you can't think how this got fixed. I like very lower scale unit level problems where my fixes will be so bespoke, they'll be so powerful, and I want people that come after me to imbibe my spirit and then scale it.
Okay.
I don't want to start with scale and break it down to unit. I start with unit and expect that to scale. You see the difference, right?
But hasn't that always been the contrary when you've joined founding teams?
No, not really. See, for example, there's something called an MVP state of mind.
Correct.
See, how do you define an MVP? You say that eventually we'll become that.
Yeah.
In the process of becoming that, I'll be this, and then that. Correct. This is a standard progression.
That's a journey
of actually moving. But when you actually say, if you think in a time axis, T of 0 to T of N, like you're at T of 0, for me, the T of 1 is a full product. I don't have an MVP state of mind. Okay. See, for me, what I ship as my first version is the product. It doesn't occur to me that what it needs to become. It will become that in the next iteration, which is why I put very lopsided focus on spit and polish, completion. It's almost like I have only completed building the drawing room, but if you came to the drawing room, it won't look like a building under construction.
Okay,
so
just on that, right? And I know this is something that I've been struggling with, and this comes across multiple conversations with product companies. When do you know it's ready to ship? Versus how much do you spend on continuing to polish?
See, look, I think here is where the people you have with you greatly come to your rescue, if you may. Like, for example, I'll give you a very simple analogy, not a very pertinent analogy, but a good analogy to understand. You're creating a spoon.
Yeah.
A spoon that is expected to pick sugar from a bowl and put it into tea.
Yeah.
Now, there are two ways of approaching it.
Yeah.
One is make a spoon that broadly just works, right? You just have the overall of that spoon. Place the spoon, it largely feels all right. You take it, you put it, and then you say that, and you promise the person by saying, when the spoon gets actually built, it's going to be the freaking best spoon in the world.
Yeah.
Correct. For me, that spoon I show you is the freaking spoon.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how I build. Like, for example, there is nothing called MVP there. So I would have still coated it with the metal. See, how can you be a product person if you don't know what your product will look like?
Yeah.
Your product has to look like that at every iteration, which is why, I have a very polarizing view, and I generally get considered that I don't understand UX, but all that is fine. I'm at an age and time where some of these things are barely of impact to me. I take them as sources for shitposting back.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. if you're not visual designing from day zero, you're not designing at all.
Yeah.
Like, because
I
people
agree.
use with their eyes first.
Yeah.
So my prerogative to any design is, you as a designer don't feel like touching it, your customer won't touch it. Now, if you're saying, I would touch it, I don't know if my customer will touch it, put your papers. Get out. How can you not know? How can you so not know? Are you saying that you as a person do not know what your customer would like? You might not know everything. I'm very comfortable with that. But don't you know what he really wants? Which is my problem. See, anything, even before you actually take a sneeze, you have to ask, मैं अभी घासूं तो चलेगा क्या? It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Like, you need to understand that when if you cough in an open place, it's going to create repercussions, and you fix for that. So you don't have to do research to understand if coughing is actually a good thing or not. See, most of the times we're not building for self-driving cars. Most of the products we are building are product with precedence. Yeah. Let's be honest here. Every single product that you see in India market have precedence, either in India market or global market. Yeah. That is your research.
Yeah. Or some part of it has.
Yeah, some part of it. That is your research. And there are cultural specific nuances, and there are other smaller nuances. But the reality is, you actually know what this product should be. Yeah. So my argument generally has been to build it like you won't get to build anymore.
Yeah.
So I ship my MVPs like, if I die tomorrow,
this is it.
I have still shipped a full product.
Yeah. Okay.
See, I have never shipped something which would achieve greatness. At that point, it has achieved its greatness.
Yeah.
Like, and for me, I want to say this, like, because it's a great opportunity to me. I mean, this is a great analogy that I have learned for myself, which I want to say very often. How do you define a person being alive?
How do you define a person?
Define a person being alive. You check his pulse.
Yeah. Yeah.
You check if he's breathing.
Yeah.
And if there's no pulse,
yeah,
there's no breathing.
Yeah.
Blood pressure is not 100 by 60.
Yeah.
Person is clinically dead. Now, for a clinically dead person, you called a makeup artist and started putting lipstick. You are an idiot. Because the person is dead. But the corollary is, is breathing, having a pulse, and having a blood pressure equated to living? No. So that is the function versus form argument for me. Function is pulse is running, person is breathing, blood pressure is fine, blood sugar is fine, cholesterol is fine. It can go to any degree. Like, you go all the way to thyroid, then you have gone to second, third, fourth degree of the person being healthy.
Medically fit,
Yeah, but that is not what you have to be a very special kind of a person to optimize for that every day in your life. Then you know who you will be. You will not be wearing shirt and pant. You will actually have a BP measurement device attached to you. You will have a cholesterol measurement device attached to you. You will have probably another thing that measures your heart rate. You'll have a Holter. You don't live like that. So this whole function argument, people stretch it to extents where only that matters. You have to keep that goddamn thing functional. You have to make sure that it is fine. Go for your checkups. You should start worrying about, what shirt am I wearing? What shoes am I wearing? Am I combing my hair? Because that's what defines whether you are alive. That is the human I'm interacting. Am I interacting basis you have pulse right now? Yeah. Am I interacting basis you have right BP right now? Yeah. Am I interacting basis you are breathing right now? Humans don't work like that. So it is only digital product people who make the stupid notion that it has to be functional. For example, just because you have low BP right now, are you going to commit suicide? Or will you stop wearing shirts? Let me ask you this question. I mean, this is a question I want designers to answer. You have low BP right now. Let's say I have low BP right now.
Yeah.
Would you actually say, Harish, forget about dressing up. Harish, forget about wearing your shoes. Just immediately fix your BP. This is the argument by saying function has to be fixed first. No, you have to fix for the BP. But wear that goddamn shirt. Wear a shoes. Look right, because
it's not siloed, I feel.
It is together. Basically, if you are not focusing on form, you have not understood humans.
Yeah.
Basically, everybody who argues with me about function, form trails function, are standing in Mercedes by saying, I am waiting for 3 extra weeks for my car because the color of my choice is not there. Work on function, no? It's a Benz anyways. Get auburn gold colored Benz, will you drive?
Yeah.
You won't, right? So you're buying it basis the color, right? You're buying basis the upholstery color, right? You're buying basis the alloy wheels, right? So for a good product to succeed, the form has to be fixed first. And function is hygiene. Function has to be continuously evolving. When you actually fix for form, see, for example, when you actually work out at the gym, you will pull a hamstring. That is function breaking.
Yeah.
Neither should you stop exercising.
Nor should you ignore that.
Nor should you ignore that. Now the point is, like, people give me extreme examples. Harish, what if you're having a heart attack? Like, there's a difference between understanding and being stupid. If you're having a heart attack,
a lot of things
you will go in your boxer shorts to the hospital. Yeah. But are you having a heart attack every day? Like, are you expecting your entire cohort of customers will have heart attack every day? What kind of nihilist pessimist are you? Like, you can't be that pessimistic. If you're that pessimistic, you can't create anything. Yeah. That's almost like assuming you're going to die today. It's almost like somebody telling me, Harish, the purpose of living is oxidizing and dying.
Yeah.
You can't live like that. Like, we all know that, right? We're all going to die one day. Yeah. But you're actually saying the only purpose of being alive is cellular oxidation.
Yeah.
That's a very special kind of pessimist.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm scared of them.
Yeah. And that's not who you're building for. I mean,
no. I see there is. Dude, that will be such a micro minority.
Yeah.
I do not think that cohort exists. So all I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying don't fix for functionality. It's almost like saying, that's my first argument. Do not put makeup on a dead body. But that does not mean a functional thing should not have makeup.
Yeah. Correct.
So basically, I'm saying, like, first let my muscles get toned. Then let my triceps arrive. Then let my chest go up. Then let me get my six pack. After that, I'll go and buy a shirt.
Yeah.
Does it work like that? You buy a shirt, no matter. And you're changing your shirt based on how your body evolves. That's what I mean by design change also. Yeah. Like, when you are, right now, look at me. I have like a completely overgrown stomach. So I'm at size XXL. Let's hypothetically assume I work out and I drop my body. I'll buy a different shirt.
Yeah.
Now, and I used to have long hair, man.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody that knows me, I had long hair for 11 years. I cut my hair. It causes problems. People say it doesn't suit you, it looks bad. And some people say, nahi, acha lag raha hai, change is good. The point is, the fact of the matter is, you cut your hair. That's the reality. Now operate. Now you buy clothes. Now you comb your hair differently because you've cut your hair. So that's my point. See, whenever you're building, I think I have digressed, but it's an important point to make. I mean, we can.
No, I'm liking the fact that we're talking about this actually.
Yeah. So I have limited ability to speak to people. So oftentimes my statements just get straitjacketed into saying only beautiful things matter. Because I keep saying it. If you have actually seen, I have a very strong position by saying, and I have said this in the past, I have said several times, I won't work with anybody who doesn't want to make things beautiful. It's a hiring criteria for me. Like, if you have innately no appreciation for beauty, you will create unemotional things. Yeah. Unemotional things don't work. Like, humans like warm and fuzzy. Human likes underdog triumphs. Humans like people that you root for to win.
Yeah.
People like somebody that you're suspicious of to work harder. Humans are driven by emotion. Once you are putting the emotion at the front of everything that you're building, they'll talk about you.
Yeah.
The day you're unimportant, they'll stop talking about it. And for me, that's death. If I've created something that's not getting talked about, I have stopped creating value. That's how I look at it. And it's a polarizing life view, but that's how I look at it.
I want to go back to one of those points that we were on, and I think I pushed the conversation a little away from there. So back to founding designer, because I felt that was a little, we didn't focus on it.
So let me come back to that. So as a founding designer, I'm always inspired by the journey. And the journey has to matter. Yeah. And every step on the journey has to matter. And once the journey matters, the outcome will be fantastic. So it's like one of my seniors told me, you can take a helicopter, you can take a car or a roller coaster. You'll still end up at the same place.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Are you the one that takes a car? Are you the one that takes a helicopter? Are you the one that takes a roller coaster? Are you the one that hikes? You need to ask this question to yourself. For me, the promise that I get to hike is why I take it, not because I have a view. You see the difference, right? Yeah. Like, the view is going to be same for everyone. Some people are just going to hike. Some people are going to take a roller coaster. Some people are going to take a car. Some people are just going to take a helicopter. I take it basis what is on offer in the journey. And that journey will be different for different founding designers, because in a startup, having that destination in mind is very important. And the fact that you're continuously sprinting towards that destination is very important.
You think it's important?
It's very, very important. But you need to be prudent of the route that you're taking. You need to be prudent of the journey that you're embarking on. You need to be prudent about the people that you're riding with. Like, I'll just ask you a question. It'll take you to that place in 15 minutes, but you're sitting with people that you can't get along with.
Yeah.
Would you still do it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I'd rather sit in a car. Because I have friends. We'll stop for coffee. We'll probably buy Coke and chips on the way and drink it. And eventually we'll get there. We'll probably be half an hour late.
Yeah.
So that is my logic of taking a founding team. Like, does the journey really matter to you, or only the destination matter to you? If only the destination matters, you will not build something which has got innately the journey in mind. And trust me, when you are on that journey, that's when people come along. See, people join you in the journey.
Yeah.
And when they join you in the journey, they get to the same destination as you are. And that's how a community is built. That is how evangelism is built. That's exactly how religion is built. Like, people need to come together.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need places of worship or communions if you didn't need this. Yeah. Like, when humans innately come together, when they're bound by a belief, when they're bound by a certain journey, basically, if you are like loosely without touching any specific religion, everything gives you a simple logic. You have to be a good person. If you're a good person, you end up well.
Yeah.
Every religion innately teaches you that. So the outcome of all religions is to be a good person.
Yeah.
Be a good person, never cause harm to anybody, and live a life of virtue, so that once it's all done, the day we die, we end up at that destination and continue to be a good person. Every religion teaches you this. It is the journey that makes people choose
one path,
different path. So the point, if you're a founder-led company, if let's say the founder wants to become the number one peanut sales company, and there's somebody else also wanting to sell peanuts, but here is a guy who is very interested in creating boutique peanut stores everywhere in good high streets with a lot of dining experience. There's another person who is all about scale by saying, put a guy on a thela anywhere and rapidly scale and sell it. Would you say one versus the other is a wrong way to actually sell peanuts?
No, it's a choice.
It is not. So you need to know what choice you're making. Like, you can't be this person who says, I want to embark on a journey which is like this, but the founder that you're joining has a very different journey in mind. So that is the only thing that I have understood, because eventually every business needs to succeed. Like, how is success defined? It creates quantifiable value. It creates money for the shareholders. It creates money for the people that are involved. And it largely has a large longevity. Like, it lasts for 10, 15, 20, 30. Every business has the same perspective. It's not different. It's about how you embark on it. What roads do you take? Who do you ride with? I think I'll tell you, who do you ride with is so important. If you ride with the right people.
And it's supremely underrated, I feel.
Ride with the right people for you. I'm not saying the people on the other side are not right people. They are right people for riding on that journey. But the people that are riding with you are the people that you want to ride with. It's you're absolutely right. It's underrated. You don't understand, because you are actually trying to look at a person who can just drive a car. That won't work. You have to find a guy who likes to drive that car through this terrain, and who understands the joy of driving, who understands the challenges that will come in the way. The tire is going to fuse. The lights are probably going to get off, and you just get down, and you can't say, please call an electrician, I'm only a driver. You understand? So early stage, it's very important to get these people who would just care about the journey.
No, I think your attitude is so much more essential, right? Because skill may open the first, the second door for you, right? You'll enjoy the first couple of hours in some way, right? But after that, it'll wither off.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's the attitude that will take you much further, and it's that will keep things intact. Right? No, I agree with that. I want to sort of also try and understand, is there a role that customer feedback plays in building products, and what is that like?
Every customer facing product building role, customer feedback plays probably paramount importance. The feedback. See, one thing that we need to understand about feedback is somebody responding to something that was presented.
Correct.
So the feedback could be positive. Feedback could be negative. Feedback could be neither, just exasperation. Or feedback could be abstract. You don't understand. Like, the person just gave you feedback. It's like I play a song and somebody just comes to me, Harish, you should try singing Bryan Adams songs. It is feedback. It's feedback.
It's feedback.
Am I going to sing it? No. Do I even think that's good feedback? No, but it's feedback. Now, can I say you're an idiot? I won't listen to you. No, I need to listen. But what's important is to bucketize how feedback is coming. See, basically, feedback comes at various degrees of nuance. And that nuance is, again, further distributed into two parts. Somebody understanding the nuance and giving nuanced feedback.
Yeah.
Somebody not understanding the nuance but gave nuanced feedback. Somebody understood the nuance but gave non-nuanced feedback. So you have this crazy metrics. I mean, I don't want to keep talking about it. It'll sound very recursive.
Yeah.
But the important part for a good product person is to take this feedback and put them in the appropriate buckets. And highly nuanced understanding of the product, highly nuanced feedback. If you don't take, you're sure dying. You're dying. Because here is a guy who understood what you are trying to do and still says it did not work. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, Harish, I know this is what you are trying to do. It did not work. The other guy is, Harish, I know this is what you are trying to do, but instead of opening the tap, I opened the shower. Yeah. The other guy is, I opened the tap only, Harish, water didn't come. That first category, Harish, I know this was a tap. I opened the tap, water did not come. The other guy is, I wanted to open the tap, instead I opened the shower. The third guy is, I wanted to cook a meal and I opened the tap. Instead of gas, water came. Now that third category onward is what it gets complicated. Why did this guy think this was a kitchen? Have you made some innate stupid mistake in building this? Your bathroom and kitchen looks the same. Or have you? So that is how I categorize feedback. And there's a fourth category which says, oh, I wanted to watch a movie, but when I opened the tab, nothing showed up. Like for that feedback, it's all right. That guy can, like, you just acknowledge him and say, you're not going to build a movie theater for him in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
He just thought this was a movie theater.
Yeah.
Now I can't fix for that.
Yeah.
So that fourth quadrant, it's okay. Yeah. Like if your entire business has the fourth quadrant, please put your papers and leave.
Yeah.
And retrospect.
Yeah.
Because you have made something that looks like a movie theater, but you are believing it's a bathroom.
Yeah.
Then you're screwed.
Yeah.
And it happens. But the first three are actually okay. Like the first category is the most functional fix. Why didn't the water come? Then you understand the pressure was not there or the tap was blocked. That's the easiest fix. Oh, this was why. The second one is, why the hell did this guy go and touch the shower instead of the tap? Oh damn, the shower knob looks exactly like the tap. Or it was not labeled as shower. You fix for that. The third guy is, I just thought the bathroom and kitchen looked the same. How do you fix for that person? Like, 2,000 of them saying your bathroom and kitchen looks the same. Then you have a problem. So you need to bucketize like that and solve. So consumer feedback, to short answer to your question, it innately matters, but the nuance of bucketizing them correctly and reacting to them appropriately is very important. The reactions that you put are very, very different. See, for example, there is that WeWork door. See, this is a sliding door.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
It's not very obvious, to be very honest.
Yeah.
The two ways of solving for that. You can put an arrow.
Yeah, correct.
And say slide. Or you can put a straight this thing which actually looks like a sliding ka this thing. Or you can screw it up by putting a circular knob, which clearly is a door that opens inside.
Yeah.
See, all these are design choices.
Yeah.
See, here they have chosen a less telling solution where you don't know it's sliding, but once you know it is sliding, you're sorted. Like if everybody, despite keeping this door for 3 months, everybody still pushes, then you put the arrow, right? Please slide. But if you're innately started putting the round twister over here, you've screwed it up. So that is what. So, but the problem with design fixing is everybody will realize the first thing they will do is label it. You don't have to.
So you wait for customers?
Of course, because the ones that did not understand first will understand, and there are other human nuances. I don't know if we have time for that today. There is something called following somebody who achieves success before you. And humans love this. And in modern post-millennial lingo, we call it FOMO. Like, for example, as we all love to show something that we figured out to another person.
Yeah.
We love it. When Gmail shipped that swipe to change accounts, do you know that feature exists?
Yeah.
It was not labeled. One guy found it out and he tweeted, Twitter broke. 60, 70K retweets, 1 million likes, because that guy suddenly is a freaking star. He found out something. And now that feature has liberal adoption. But Google also said, put an arrow and said, swipe here to change accounts. Sometimes you don't have to do that. Sometimes you have to get to a place where somebody is going to figure it out and they are going to tell.
Do you wait for that level of curiosity to play out?
You will know, right? And especially that's the beauty of shipping for a small subsection of people, which is why you have betas, which is why you have continuous loops of taking feedback. So you have so many things that you can do in the process. But if the most obvious feedback has been impracticated, then pretty much everything on the screen will have a label telling what it is. And then you die. Like,
I have one last question on this particular bit, because when people come up with new product ideas, right, or new modules, how do you design for a habit or a module that people are just not used to? They don't expect, right? Or maybe it's an expansion, or maybe it's because of scale, or maybe it's because of nuance in some way. How do you design for something like that, or do you stay away from something like that?
No, I don't stay away from them. I'll be cautious about it. But my general to-go in situations like you're mentioning is to see if there are physical equivalents. There may not be digital equivalents of this, but you might just realize there are physical equivalents of this. So basically, when I'm big time into automobiles. So
Yeah.
I'll take you through a simple example. So Indian, Japanese, and I think even American-made cars have the indicator on the right-hand side.
Correct.
And wiper on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
European, German cars have the
The other one,
indicator on the left-hand side,
Yeah.
wiper on the right-hand side. Mercedes-Benz, which is a German car, has the transmission at the place of indicator. The lever that you have, it's actually drive park. Now the point is, Mercedes broke that convention because he had made up his mind, my side panel will be clean. I will not have a lever sitting there. It's a conscious design choice. Never done before. But
Yeah,
you know,
good example actually. Yeah.
But when you understand, see, this is the way humans switch. Like you are driving a Volkswagen and then switch to a Toyota. It's not like you will wrongly switch the indicator and wiper for 2 days. Third day, muscle memory resets.
Yeah.
Like we put too much emphasis on muscle memory. Muscle memory is important. I'm not saying muscle memory is not important, but in my head, especially in digital world, muscle memory is emphasized too much because of the first point I mentioned to you. Yeah. You're starting by saying customer doesn't care. Can you make him care? Can you make him care about this change?
Which means he spends a little more time. Yeah.
Correct. And like, you know, stay with him in an empathetic journey with him to figure it out. And also from automobiles, if you make a mistake, they have enough checks and balances that your car doesn't crash. See, instead of putting an indicator, you're driving the car and you change the transmission knob, Benz will not take the car to a ditch. It will simply say the indicator's on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Are you trying to change? So that is how, see, basically, if you're fixated to muscle memory from the first ever time you got it
Yeah.
right, first ever time, so getting it right is like dope.
Yeah.
Like you got it
Correct.
right, then it's crazy, right? Oh, I have gotten it right. Don't touch it. And there's this common thing that people do: don't fix if it is not broken.
Yeah.
That's the worst advice.
Yeah.
If people did not fix what was not broken, how will you progress?
No, yeah, which is why I asked that. No, I like the analogy that you gave. Getting into just like the tapering end of this conversation, we'll keep this very pointed because it's purely sort of trying to dive into you as a person. Are there some products that you personally look up to, and why? It could be in India, it could be outside, it could be anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, should I keep it in
Context of digital products, yeah.
Digital products. Not a direct comparison between.
Yeah.
I like Airbnb a lot because they have a good, contrary to popular belief, not because they have a clean UI. A lot of people say that it's the cleanest OTA, the cleanest of design. No, what I like about Airbnb is the narrative.
Love it, yeah.
They just said, you're hosts.
Yeah.
You're bringing people to your house. There's suddenly a human connect.
Yeah.
You're inviting somebody to come and stay at your house, and when you're staying at somebody's house, if you're a good human being, you will not mess that place up.
Yeah.
Because in a hotel, you're very dispassionate about it because these guys also work there. But for a host is like you and I.
Yeah.
And
It's
when
more
you see, it's very humane. And secondly, when a host is putting an effort to bring you and stay at their place, it connects humans. It brings a community angle together, and then look at the way Airbnb talks about the way they're very host centric. You have super hosts, you have rare finds. It's never about the property, if you understand.
Yeah.
It's always about the
People,
human. That's where the property, and that for me was a phenomenal hack. The innate way that product was built was like, go somewhere, stay with somebody there.
Yeah.
They're gonna host you, and for me, that was very powerful. And to the extent I go to Europe right now, hotels don't feature in my plan. I stay only at Airbnbs. There's a certain sense of warmth, certain sense of predictability, and there is a certain sense of ease that I'm not standing at a check-in line. Like, they would just send a WhatsApp by saying, I have kept the key under the carpet, please take it, and then punch this number, the key is there, get inside. And once you enter, they will call you. Is everything fine? Are you... Man, that's what my mom does. That's what my sister does when I go and stay at their house. It's the power of that human connect is more powerful than the UI, the UX. Look, that's how I look at it. Second one, Uber. When I first experienced Uber, it was never about being able to book a cab. For me.
Yeah.
They have sort of discontinued that. When they first launched the app, when you open, there was a caption, there was a byline, which is everybody's private driver. That's what Uber started as. And the product was exactly that. You book a ride, somebody shows up, you enter, you get out, close the door, walk. There is nothing transactional.
Yeah.
That is exactly how your driver operates, right? Just like how my driver operated right now.
Yeah.
He came home, picked me up, dropped me, went to the parking lot.
Yeah.
I didn't ask kitna hua. I didn't ask how much is this going to cost. And that was very powerful for me. And they built the product around that. They insisted that you have to have a card on file. No, okay, I've changed.
Yeah.
Because of course then they had it's a different point as to how that translated. But since you asked me what trick innately made me feel, third one is Waze. Because I was living in the US for a while.
Yeah.
Waze humanized navigation.
Yeah.
So much that I can't use Google Maps if Waze is available.
Yeah.
And Waze had things that made me feel everybody driving on the road is my ally.
Yeah.
Because they would actually tell you, oh, there is a traffic jam here, there are cops standing here, there is a pile up here. Look, it's almost like there's a whole community of people on the road, they're all friends. And they're all coming together, and your navigation suddenly is a very impersonal pursuit.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're riding with everyone, and you have an ability to understand. And for me, the UI, the UX, the design choices, the way it communicates, they all come a lot later in the cycle. But this innate philosophy with which, just 3 examples. If you gave me the time, I'd go on and on and on about products that see, this is what touches me. And once you know this is what you're building, you can make 20,000 mistakes, but you know what you're building.
Yeah.
See, if you did not know this, on the way you'll get FOMO'd and you will translate Airbnb to look like Booking.com because you have suddenly become metric driven. Oh, but Booking is still selling more. Oh, but MakeMyTrip is selling more. You are not that product. See, a loose abstraction would say they also sell hotel inventory, you also sell hotel inventory. That is the point I was trying to make at the beginning of this conversation. Looking at Airbnb, you can easily say you are another Booking.com. But are you? You're not. And that's the main nuance that you need to understand and go about building it. Several more products like that. But anyway, these 3 top of my head.
Amazing. One last bit. Do you read a lot or do you listen to
No,
podcasts?
I don't read at all.
You don't read at all. Is there something or people that inspire you in some way? And it could be beyond work. It could be artists. It could be
I
anyone.
find everyday people that I sometimes get a chance to meet. See, inspiration, you have all the usual people, right? Like no designer in the planet is not inspired by Johnny Ive and Steve Jobs.
Correct.
Nobody is. You would not meet a single person that is not inspired by what Google has been able to create. See, you have the usual suspects.
Correct.
I'm no different. I'm just an average dude on the street. So all those companies and people that we speak about, I'm inspired by all of them. But what I have learned in the last 10 years, at least, if I were to introspect, I'm fascinated by how humans react to situations. it is the most incredible demonstration of how they will use your product. Like, you should just see. I mean, when I was building, I'll just take a CRED example.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to take too many CRED
No,
examples.
sure, go for it.
I spent a lot of time randomly standing in the line of these, what do you call them? Airport lounges. I didn't need it, but I just went and stood. And I started looking at innately what's the behavior. Only certain class of cards would flash the card.
Yeah.
The remaining are very, very guarded about it. They'll just go all the way and they'll push the card and quickly take it and go inside. Basically, one thing that I learned before I started designing my CRED is that everybody signals. We are all driven by signaling. And if we created something that innately creates signaling value, like, the beautiful hack, you can't tell between an iPhone 13 and an iPhone 13 Pro by looking at the front. Can you?
Yeah. No, you
But
can't.
you can tell it by looking at the back.
Yeah.
And what do people see? They see the back.
Yeah.
Which is why
Which is
it has
the
got
key,
a
yeah.
different camera layout. See, for example, you need to understand how good products innately help you to look.
Yeah.
Like, there are useless features on premium cars. The
Is
rear
that a
view,
good thing though?
it's an amazing thing, because the only thing that leads human race forward is aspiring to be somebody else. We all make progress because there's always somebody to look up to. See, see, for example, I'll just take an example. Why do certain societies progress fast, and why do certain societies don't progress fast?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
favorite topic of mine.
Yeah.
I won't take too long.
Yeah.
The societies that believe the here and now can't be changed are the ones that makes least progress,
Correct.
because they're already working on things which is the next life or a longer term. These are the ones who would say, we would, at the risk of sounding out, like, we will do things together, we will come into communions, we will do rituals, we will do stuff, because you're almost convinced that in the current circumstance, it is very hard for you to change the here and now. But in certain countries, they clearly know the here and now is easy to fix.
Yeah.
They make rapid progress. If you actually look at Scandinavia, he's not thinking 2028.
Yeah.
The here and now can be changed. It's fantastic. So, and you also need to understand societies, like diverse societies, generally react to shock really well. You need to shock them.
Good and bad.
Basically, shock. Shock generally is a negative connotated word. There's nothing called a good shock. Like, it's a surprise versus shock.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to shock people. Like, a classic example is the shock will get you attention, and then you push a narrative. Like, why this shock is good for you.
Yeah.
And because the society can't fix for itself, they'll actually consider the shock to be a good thing. And that helps you lead society. So it's basically a little bit of emotional engineering, a little bit of mind engineering to get this working, as opposed to having a simple one-size-fits-all solution.
Yeah, there's so much
to
nuance in each of these, whether you say examples or whether you say human behavior or pattern mapping or recognition.
Yep.
And I think if from whatever you've said, if you could just take cues of or signals from there,
Yeah.
and build for that, it would in itself be a very progressive design.
Absolutely. And design is a means to achieve an outcome.
100%.
So if you don't know what that means is, and you are ruthlessly outcome focused, and you're not necessarily thinking about means, then it's problematic, because that's the standard, what I call as the Mumbai local problem.
Okay.
See, Mumbai local is very efficient.
Yeah.
It has been working. If anybody you call and say, does Mumbai local system work?
Yeah.
Yes, it has been working for donkey's years now. And people use it. And absence of Mumbai local, that city comes to a halt.
Yeah.
But is Mumbai local the most nuanced solution
Yeah.
for local commute? The answer is no.
Yeah.
So that is where idea of metro came.
Correct.
How do you take, and because you can't fix that, you understand, right? You can't convert the
wired in a
Mumbai
certain
local
way.
network to a metro station, is not going to happen.
Yeah.
But you create a metro station.
Yeah.
And slowly divert to better, more progressive options,
Yeah.
which people adopt and eventually they become successful. This is like how trams are now discontinued in Calcutta. Like they ran for the longest of time. You can't discontinue that quickly. That's the problem with diverse large societies like what we are operating in, and it's that is why, like, design progression or being progressive about what you create, it's a hard problem. It's not that designers don't want to do it. Trust me, if you speak to any designer in the current milieu, they would all tell you that they would want to do this, but they don't do it primarily because it's genuinely hard. Some people have an opportunity. I'm grateful I had an opportunity. That's not the case with everyone. Like, it's just my privilege and my
that's true.
the opportunity, my timing and my timing is everything. So I could time it in a way it worked out for me. Somebody else, that time has still not arrived, and their moment to shine is coming.